Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to my channel. Nice to meet you. Tis me, Dakota, coming at you with some intuitive predictions. I thought it would be really fun to actually do this because I have this intuitive capability that I never use, and this year I thought it would be fun to tune into the energies of humanity and anything in the ethers that is gonna come through and manifest and just write it all out into bullet points. And I hope this is gonna help you and bring you some clarity. The points I'm gonna be talking about are purely my intuitive readings. I am not an astrologer. I am just a very highly intuitive and sensitive person. And these are just my personal readings of the global energies for 2024. There's a number of things actually that I intuited. And overall, it does definitely feel like this is gonna be a very intense and fast-paced year. Past years also have been pretty intense given all the conflicts we've had and are still having. So one of the things I feel like the next year, 2024, is gonna be a very divisive and intense year. And basically, we are really gonna be shattering the egos, like a lot. We started shattering the egos during the pandemic, but that was not really enough. And so we are continuing with this tension building and with this tension and division and egos running against each other. And through that, because there is more division and more conflict, there's even more egos awakening, and we are just realizing that, okay, this does not really work for us anymore, you know? There are so many people awakening to this reality that we have created this society for ourselves that is not really good for us anymore, and there is going to be even more of those people awakening, if you will, during this upcoming year. And it is also going to be feeding into this division that we are going to be seeing because people are going to be standing up for themselves in one way or the other, and they are going to be standing up for their beliefs and finally realizing, what's been done. And so that is going to create more conflict and more, animosity and more, whatever, social justice wars. So there's like a good aspect to it, is that we are awakening, but we are going to be awakening through primarily realizing things for ourselves and then butting heads with other people who also realize things for themselves. And hopefully eventually we are gonna realize butting heads by itself is also our ego, and hopefully eventually we are gonna awaken from that. But from what I'm sensing, it's not really gonna happen during this upcoming year. And in fact, actually, from what I feel in the global energies, we are actually lining up and manifesting another global conflict, aka World War. And the upcoming year is actually going to be a deciding point based on how much we, as each individual person, are going to choose to include another person and other people rather than exclude, and rather than, play zero-sum games and continue playing zero-sum games. And that is going to decide as to how severe this global conflict is gonna be and how severely it'll have to manifest for us as people to actually learn, or if we actually will lead ourselves towards global extinction, which, well, it's a bit doom, or at least, such a major conflict that we will have to rebuild society completely from scratch. Those of you who are here for the first time and haven't listened to my meditations, haven't heard me speak, I am not one of those people who engages in positive spirituality or toxic spirituality where I deny negative things that I see and negative predictions. So if you're here for only positive things, then this is not the one for you. But speaking of positive things, there are also going to be positive things in this upcoming year, because we still do have a lot of individual power, and this year is going to be a very deciding year for each person to come into that individual power, so as to hopefully collectively we can shift negative things that we have become a match to in the future. And so I feel like this energy is very potent for self-actualization this year. And there's a lot of fire energy, also dragon, right? I didn't know that this was a dragon year. I was feeling into this year and I was like, wow, this is like so much fiery energy. And then I saw like all the, calendars, being sold, and the dragon being, the symbol, and I'm like, wait a minute, is this a dragon year? Because I'm already like feeling so much, drive and kind of this rebirth in a way, like deciding what do we want to be, deciding individually what matters, like becoming what we want to see in the world, being brave to, take up space and act in alignment with yourself first and foremost, and be brave enough to show yourself and be that person, that doesn't fit in. Be that person that different and stand for your own difference. And I feel like there's gonna be way less dilly-dallying actually this year. So it's like I feel like it's gonna be so much easier to just take things, try them out, and see if you like them or not, and people as well, right? Experiences, and it's gonna be so much easier to just shed them, be like, okay, this is not for me, so I'm gonna just let this go because it doesn't resonate with me, it's not for my higher good. And I do not mean, discarding things in a toxic way where we try to just avoid the negatives of life and the reality that we don't want to acknowledge, because I know a lot of spiritual people do that. It's such a huge pitfall of just being in our happy bubble where we think that we can just manifest anything we want, despite what anyone else thinks and does, which is not true. This is a co-creation, we're all creating together. But despite that, I feel like it's gonna be much easier, to define those values and act on those values, and then not stay in the toxic situations or, with toxic people, or it's so much easier to just recognize when that thing is not for you. Even if you acknowledge and recognize its existence, it's gonna be so much easier to just, burn bridges faster, if you will. And this upcoming year is gonna be such a good opportunity for us to step into our power, It's the dragon, again, like the symbolism, the the fire, like be reborn. And I feel like also this is gonna be the first year after the pandemic when we are actually gonna be having so much more clarity in regards to what we are individually and collectively, where we're going, what has to be the priority, clarity about like the corruption, other people's intentions, government's intentions. It's like I feel like we were in this confusion for at least 3 years since the pandemic, and this is gonna be the first year when we actually are going to clearly see what is things for what they really are: people, places, groups of people, institutions, ourselves, even based on the fact that we are going to be butting heads, with other people, and our egos are going to be challenged, and it's going to be also up to us together with other people, through conflict to dismantle all these layers of fakeness, all these layers of fake intentions, all these layers of everything that has been built and we were led to believe. We believed about someone else, we believed about ourselves. All of that is going to be up in the air to be re-questioned, relived in a different way, or different actions and choices being made based on what you learn. So it almost feels to me like this energy of like a very busy market. It's like this very busy market where everyone is just hustling, everyone's just kind of in a rush. Like, not necessarily in a rush, but everyone's kind of different. Some people are enjoying the market, some people are there in a rush, and it's for you to like decide who you are in this market and what you want to be. And because of this like busy kind of almost beehive energy, a lot of opportunities are gonna come our way, and a lot of new things and like new connections and these new ideas and things that, you know, we didn't see before and things like that. And in a way, I feel like this year is gonna be a challenge. It really is gonna be a year that is gonna test us, and because it is also a deciding year for how many of us are gonna pretty much die in a more distant future, and what are we gonna do as humanity, and what are we gonna manifest as humanity for ourselves. Like, are we gonna destroy ourselves because, you know, we are not recognizing that we are destroying the very system that we're dependent upon? And pretty much because of all these decisions that we'll have to make and this busy energy, we are going to be also struggling with powerlessness, and we will have to face our powerlessness. And I feel like this is going to happen on each individual's personal level, like your own personal powerlessness. And what do you feel like you have no say in, you cannot take any action in, possibly even, well, not possibly, very likely, is just powerlessness from childhood, you know, childhood trauma. And because of that, that's the negative. The positive of this, I feel like, is gonna be the fact that so much more people are gonna be actually clearly coming into their purpose and clearly seeing why they are here. Because all this, you know, pain that we as, you know, humanity are going through right now, like, it's triggering pain on an individual level, and because of that, we are gonna finally see why we went through this pain. Because if we actually, of course, take our time to resolve it, and through all these resolutions, the gift in all this powerlessness and all this, you know, unpredictability, and is our personal purpose and our own personal power, and what we are meant to, you know, bring and be on this earth and bring to people, and our personal medicine. And it's gonna be like, oh, finally, you know, all this all this pain that I've been through actually finally makes sense, and I see why, and I see why I'm here. And I myself actually had this just a couple weeks ago, this crazy fucking realization, as I was, you know, I was just doing all the shadow work as I usually do, and it just snapped, and I just realized that, oh my god, you know, it happened. I see it now. I see it so clearly. And I feel like this upcoming year, like, so much more people are gonna have more and more, you know, moments like this, and that is a good thing. And we are gonna be taking charge of our life experience again, because of all these power struggles that are happening in the world right now. We are really realizing how how little power we have, you know, how out of control we feel. I feel like that's, for me, like, that was 2023 in a nutshell for me, just realizing how little control we have over things that are external to us. And then coming to power in realizing that these tiny things that we do, you know, from within ourselves, from, you know, these actions that we take based on what we want, like, they matter, and they ripple, and they affect other people, and the energy that we show up with, you know, into the world, energy that we put out into the world, you know, it's needed. Not in a way where it's like saying don't feel bad and always only be positive and put positive energy towards the world. No, it's more like, I mean, this energy of like self-ownership, right? So it's like, for example, even if you feel like shit and you go out there, right, and you're like grumpy all day, but you just own that fact and you have no problem with yourself, right? You have no problem that you are feeling extremely bad right now. And so the energy is good. That energy that you put out into the world is not the energy of, you know, that you feel bad, but the energy that you accept yourself. And God knows we need more of that, you know? So putting out this self-acceptance energy, like no matter how you are, like showing how you are and owning that, and and realizing that from the truth we might be feeling powerless, right? And we might be feeling scared, but once we dig through that and resolve it and face it, we will have way more power than trying to avoid and deny the reality that we feel powerless and trying to control things, and not even recognizing that it's so much easier to first affect ourselves. And once we are affected by our own acceptance and presence, then we can affect the world. And I feel like so many more of us are actually gonna be stepping into the space of showing up in the world fully. And I feel like throughout the year we are gonna be feeling some sadness, because we are gonna be awakening and we are gonna be seeing and recognizing like how our world and how our society has been deteriorating. And so I feel like a lot of us are going to be struggling with actually accepting the reality and feeling a lot of grief and a lot of pain about what we have created and how we even might have contributed to it. Because I know, like, as spiritual people, we like to think that we're like all above, and we know it all and we're so connected. But the truth is that we're also a part of it, we are also people, and we are also connected to every person, no matter how not woke they are, or not awakened, or not conscious, or not aware, or whatever it is that we say. But the truth is that there are parts of us that contribute to what is happening in the world in one way or the other. And I feel like it's very important to start recognizing what it is about us, what it is that is still our ego playing tricks on us, but how are we actually contributing? Are we contributing to separation and lose games, and lose relationships by rejecting humanity, for example, because of how unawakened they are, or how unconscious, or how stupid or conflict inducing? It's like, the truth is like, we're all doing that to each other. And because this is like an intuitive prediction, I imagine you guys are going to be more on the spiritual spectrum, so keep this in mind. So yeah, and I feel like this sadness that we are going to be going through will need a lot of soothing and a lot of reminder, maybe, that we can still be kind to each other and still be soft with each other, and kind of practice this inclusion of another human being, like no matter who it is. And with powerlessness, we are also going to be facing our fears. It's because we are going to be forced to look at all our shadows, and this fear of standing out and this fear of taking our space in the world, that is definitely gonna be coming up. And in general, like, I feel like this upcoming year is gonna be like a very kind of end of the beginning kind of year. It's like the end year of like the whole 4 years of this cycle of pandemic, where we all just got shook up, and now this is like the end of this beginning. And towards the end of 2024, we are gonna be stepping into kind of a more defined world, whatever we are gonna create, stepping into this kind of new world order and a different upgraded society. And not necessarily visible in like a physical way, but I feel like the subconscious mind of humanity is gonna decide what's gonna happen and how are we gonna continue living, and what doomsday scenario are we gonna manifest, and how severe it's gonna be. And I hope that it's not gonna be severe. I hope that we will learn our lesson this time. But hey, we haven't done that in the pandemic. We have not learned, and so we will get slapped again. Oh dear God, I hate it. I feel like we can turn this around by actually really narrowing our minds onto ourselves and focusing on our individual power and really just taking the focus from out there and all the, you know, horrors that are happening in the world to just, okay, what impact can I do right now, right here, today, you know, with my values and the things that matter to me, you know? This way, we would definitely manage to make it so much easier for each other and for the collective in general. So, thank you everybody for listening for my intuitive predictions. This is purely intuitive. I have not looked at a lot of 2024 predictions from other people or any astrology charts or anything. Not that I know how to read them, but basically no input whatsoever. But from what I know now, having checked out a few people, I feel like there are some things that are definitely on point because, you know, it's always good to double check what other people are sensing and feeling and kind of have a more objective view. So yeah, thank you everybody for listening. I wish you a very self-empowered 2024 and nice to have you on my channel, by the way. Whoever you might be, be kind to yourself and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.